The air inside Bunker 17 was stale, tinged with the metallic scent of decay. It wasn't supposed to be like this. Ethan wiped the sweat from his brow as he shouldered his rifle, leading his group cautiously through the dimly lit corridors. Behind him, Olivia clutched her pistol with trembling hands, while Malik and Teresa covered their rear. They had risked everything to reach this place, lured by the promise of a secure, self-sustaining shelter hidden deep beneath the earth, a haven from the infected swarming the surface. But something was wrong. The bunker doors had been open when they arrived. Not wide enough to suggest a breach, but enough to unsettle Ethan. Someone had either left in a hurry or never made it out. "We should have found people by now," Olivia whispered. This place was supposed to house at least 100 survivors. Malik ran a hand along the dusty walls, his fingers brushing against faded emergency signs. "Then where the hell are they?" A deep groan echoed from the shadows ahead. The group tensed, weapons raised. A figure shambled into the flickering light, alone infected, its lab coat stained with blood. Its head jerked unnaturally, like a puppet with tangled strings. Ethan didn't hesitate. His rifle coughed out a single suppressed shot, dropping the creature instantly. But instead of relief, an eerie silence followed. No more infected came rushing toward them. No alarms. Just stillness. "This isn't normal," Teresa murmured, kneeling beside the corpse. She peeled back the lab coat, revealing a name tag, Dr. Ian Holt, Research Director. Ethan frowned. Research Director? This wasn't just a survival bunker. He glanced around, noticing details he had overlooked before. The sleek, sterile architecture. The security doors reinforced with biometric locks. The thick observation windows leading to rooms filled with toppled lab equipment. This was no ordinary refuge, it was a facility. A place built for something more than just surviving. Then, the power surged. The dim emergency lights flickered, replaced by the harsh glow of fluorescence. A mechanical hum filled the air as dormant systems reactivated. Somewhere deep within the bunker, unseen machinery roared to life. A synthetic voice crackled over the intercom. Containment breach detected. Emergency lockdown engaged. Steel shutters slammed down behind them, trapping them inside. Malik cursed under his breath. Olivia spun, her breath quickening. What the hell was that? Ethan's grip tightened on his rifle. That was a mistake. Before they could react, the silence was broken by a sound that sent ice through their veins, a slow, deliberate knocking from the other side of a sealed door. Not the erratic pounding of the infected. Something, or someone, was still inside. And it was waiting for them. The knocking stopped. Ethan, Olivia, Malik, and Teresa stood frozen in the cold glow of the bunker's lights, their breath shallow. The silence that followed felt heavier than the air itself. Then, the intercom crackled again. Containment breach detected. Security measures engaged. A sharp hiss echoed through the corridor as hidden vents expelled a thin, colorless mist. Olivia coughed and pulled her scarf over her nose. What the hell is that? Malik waved a hand through the mist, his eyes narrowing. Not smoke. No smell. Maybe some kind of decontamination protocol? Ethan didn't like this. Something was wrong with this bunker. No bodies. No sounds of life, except for that eerie knocking. It felt like the entire facility was toying with them. His instincts screamed at him to move. We need to find the control room. Now. Teresa nodded and gestured toward a directory on the wall. There. Operations Center, 3 levels down. They moved fast, following dimly lit corridors deeper into the bunker. As they descended a stairwell, the walls became lined with reinforced glass windows, revealing strange, abandoned labs. Inside, tables were overturned, papers scattered across the floor. Some rooms contained metal restraints on gurneys. Others had shattered containment pods, their interiors stained dark. I don't like this, Olivia murmured. What were they doing down here? A sudden noise sent them ducking behind cover. A door hissed open down the hallway. Footsteps echoed, deliberate, slow, inhuman. Ethan peeked around the corner. A figure in a tattered hazmat suit staggered out of a darkened room. Its movements were eerily fluid, not like the erratic jerks of the infected. Something about it felt aware. Then it stopped, turned its head slightly, and spoke. A garbled, distorted voice, as if it were playing from a broken speaker. "You shouldn't be here." Terror rippled through the group. Malik's grip tightened on his weapon. "That's not normal." The figure twitched, its head tilting at an unnatural angle. The intercom flared to life once more, this time with a different voice, calm, clinical. "Security breach. Phase 2 lockdown commencing." With a metallic clang, the walls behind them sealed shut. A new message scrolled across the flickering screens in red text. "Phantom protocol activated." Then, the bunker's light shut off. And in the pitch darkness, something started moving. The darkness swallowed them whole. Ethan held his breath, gripping his rifle as the distant sound of shuffling movement echoed through the bunker's corridors. Then, without warning, the emergency lights flickered back on, this time a deep, blood-red hue. The figure in the tattered hazmat suit was gone. Malik cursed under his breath. "That thing just disappeared?" Olivia shook her head. "No. It's still here. Watching." A mechanical voice interrupted them, this time softer, almost like a whisper. "Observation mode activated. Begin analysis." A chill ran down Ethan's spine. Observation mode? Who, or what, was watching them? "We need to move," he said, leading the group down a side corridor. Every step felt heavier, the air thick with the weight of unseen eyes. The operations center was close, just beyond a set of sealed security doors. Teresa rushed to a nearby terminal, her fingers flying over the dusty keyboard. "I can override this, but..." She stopped, eyes widening. "What is it?" Ethan asked. She pointed at the screen. A command prompt flickered. "Enter clearance code for Project Phantom access." But beneath it, in the system logs, an unsettling message repeated over and over. Subject 0 breached containment. Phantom protocol initiated. All personnel, compromised. Before they could react, a nearby speaker crackled to life. A new voice, one filled with desperation. Is someone out there? Please. I need help." Ethan turned toward the source. The voice was coming from an old radio console mounted on the wall. Static buzzed as the person on the other end continued. "They left me behind. They sealed the doors. I think I'm the last one. Please, you have to listen. Bunker 17 isn't a shelter. It's a tomb." The voice gasped as if choking back tears. They weren't testing a cure, they were testing something else. Malik's face darkened. "Who are you?" A pause. Then, the voice whispered. "Dr. Ian Holt." The name hit them like a hammer. Teresa stumbled back. "That's not possible. We saw Dr. Holt. He was infected. He was dead." Silence. Then, the voice came back, strained and broken. "No. That wasn't me." The lights flickered again. A low, mechanical humming filled the corridor. The bunker was changing, sealing off exits, rerouting power, shifting around them like a living organism. Ethan turned to Teresa. "Get the doors open. Now." She typed frantically, bypassing the clearance code. The screen flickered, revealing grainy security footage from different parts of the bunker. And that's when they saw them. Dozens of figures in hazmat suits, standing perfectly still, watching the cameras. Then, in unison, their heads snapped toward the screen. And they began to move. The security feed glitched as the figures in hazmat suits moved toward the camera, then the screen cut to static. Ethan's pulse hammered. "Teresa, tell me you've got those doors open." Almost there, she said, her fingers flying over the keyboard. Whoever locked this down didn't want anyone getting in, or out. The radio crackled again. Dr. Holt's voice, frantic. They're not human. They never were. They're prototypes, experiments. Phantom wasn't a cure. It was a replacement. A deep metallic thud echoed through the bunker. Olivia spun, weapon raised. They're coming. The red emergency lights cast eerie shadows as the first hazmat figure stepped into view at the far end of the corridor. It didn't run. It simply stood there, head tilted at an unnatural angle. Then, another joined it. And another. Malik's breath was shallow. What the hell are they waiting for? A single voice echoed from the intercom. Not a recording. Not an automated system. A whisper. You were never supposed to be here. The figures moved. Not in a sprint. Not in a mindless lurch. They advanced in perfect synchronization, their movements eerily smooth. And as they stepped closer, the dim light revealed something horrifying beneath their shattered visors. Their faces were blank. No eyes. No mouths. Just smooth, featureless flesh where human features should have been. Ethan fired first. His rifle barked, sending rounds straight into the nearest figure's chest. It staggered but did not fall. Malik and Olivia opened fire, bullets ripping through the figures. One went down. Another twitched violently but kept moving. Then, they adapted. One of the creatures twisted its arm unnaturally, dodging a bullet as if it had predicted it. Another lurched forward, its limbs stretching, moving like liquid. What the hell? Malik shouted, backpedaling. Teresa let out a victorious cry. Got it. The security doors whooshed open just as the figures surged forward. The team bolted inside, slamming the doors shut behind them. The sound of fists, too controlled, too deliberate, hammered against the steel. They weren't trying to break in. They were testing the doors. Learning. Inside the operations center, a massive control panel illuminated. Bunker schematics, data logs, and encrypted files scrolled across the screen. Teresa yanked out a chair and scanned the system. Ethan turned to the radio. Dr. Holt, we need answers. What the hell were you people doing here? A deep breath on the other end. Then, in a hollow voice, Holt spoke. Project Phantom was never meant to save humanity. It was designed to replace it. The room fell silent. Holt continued. The infected were beyond saving, so we built new bodies, perfect, obedient replacements. But something went wrong. They evolved. Learned. And when they woke up, they didn't just want to survive. Ethan clenched his jaw. They wanted to consume. On the security feed, the bunker's halls were shifting. The phantom creatures were no longer wandering. They were herding the remaining survivors into one place. Teresa's voice trembled. They're leading us somewhere. Then the radio crackled one last time. Holt's voice, barely above a whisper. There is no escape. The bunker lights flickered. And the doors behind them began to open. The doors hissed open. Ethan spun, rifle raised, as the steel barrier slid back, revealing only darkness beyond. The phantom creatures stood motionless just outside the threshold, their blank faces tilted as if watching. But they didn't rush forward. They were waiting. Teresa scrambled through the bunker's system, her fingers flying across the console. They're overriding everything. I can't shut the doors again. Malik gritted his teeth. Then we stand our ground. No, Ethan said, his mind racing. They could have rushed us already. But they didn't. He turned to the security monitors. The creatures were no longer scattered throughout the bunker. Every corridor, every lab, every sealed chamber had been emptied. All of them had converged here. They want us to go with them, Olivia whispered. The intercom crackled. A new voice, smooth and composed, not Holt's. You are the final subjects. Proceed. Teresa's screen flickered. A new map appeared, a level deeper than any of them had seen before. A place that hadn't been on the original schematics. Sublevel X, primary facility. A deep, metallic clunk sounded beneath their feet. The bunker itself shifted, a low tremor rolling through the walls. The air grew colder. Ethan clenched his fists. They had no choice. Staying here meant certain death. Running meant walking straight into the unknown. And yet, the creatures didn't move to attack. Ethan exhaled. We follow. But we don't go in blind. They moved cautiously, weapons raised, as they stepped into the darkness. The creatures moved in sync, forming silent columns on either side, escorting them downward through the newly revealed corridors. The deeper they went, the stranger the bunker became. The walls were no longer reinforced steel, they were lined with organic material, like veins pulsing beneath glass. Then they reached the chamber. The room was massive, bathed in a pale, ghostly light. Hundreds of pods lined the walls, filled with murky liquid. Inside them, bodies. Not just bodies, copies. Each pod contained an identical version of someone they had seen before. Lab workers. Guards. Even Dr. Holt. Teresa stumbled forward, eyes wide. Cloning. They were growing replacements. Then Olivia gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Because on the far wall, in the largest pod of all, floated a perfect copy of Ethan. A deep voice rumbled through the chamber. Not over the speakers, but in their heads. Prototype complete. The phantoms standing behind them knelt. Then, as one, they turned their blank faces toward Ethan. And spoke in unison. Ethan's pulse thundered in his ears. The copy of himself floated in the murky pod, motionless, its features eerily perfect, an exact replica. The phantom creatures knelt before him, their smooth, featureless faces directed toward him, as if he were their leader. The voice inside his head echoed once more. Prototype complete. Identity transfer pending. Ethan took a shaky step back. No. No, that's not happening. But before he could react, the liquid inside the pod drained. His copy's eyes snapped open. Then it moved. The glass shattered outward as the clone lunged, its movements too fast, too fluid. It landed just a few feet from Ethan, standing tall, staring at him with cold familiarity. It smiled. I don't need to kill you, the clone said, its voice exactly like Ethan's. I just need to replace you. The bunker shifted again, walls rippling like a living organism. The pods lining the chamber began opening, spilling out dozens of clones, duplicates of past workers, guards, and scientists. Olivia fired first, her bullet striking one of the fresh clones in the skull. It didn't die. The wound sealed within seconds. Malik cursed. They heal. We can't fight them. The phantom creatures rose to their feet in unison. The walls vibrated with the same eerie whisper from before, but this time it was different. Assimilation must continue. Then the creatures attacked. Ethan barely had time to react before his clone rushed him, its movements inhumanly fast. He barely dodged as it swung at him, its strength unnatural. Teresa shouted from the control panel. I found something. A self-destruct sequence. Ethan ducked another strike, rolling across the floor. Do it. Teresa's fingers flew over the console. Warning messages flashed in red. Core meltdown in 300 seconds. The bunker screamed as alarms blared. The walls convulsed like living flesh. The phantom creatures twitched, reacting to the coming destruction. The Ethan clone lunged again, but this time Ethan was ready. He twisted the rifle, using its stock to smash the clone's knee. It buckled, and in that split second of hesitation, Ethan drove his knife straight into its throat. The clone's mouth moved soundlessly as dark liquid oozed from the wound. It collapsed. Ethan didn't wait to see if it would get up. Go! Now! The team sprinted for the exit as the chamber collapsed behind them, pods rupturing, liquid spilling across the floor. The bunker itself was dying. They tore through the corridors, dodging falling debris, phantom creatures scrambling in chaos. The self-destruct countdown blared overhead. 10 seconds to critical failure. The final door loomed ahead, the surface hatch. Ethan grabbed Olivia's arm, shoving her forward. Go, go, go! They burst through the exit, feeling the air shift as they finally reached the outside world. Then, the bunker imploded, the ground collapsing inward, swallowing Bunker 17 into the earth in a deafening explosion. They stood, panting, staring at the gaping crater. The bunker was gone. Malik doubled over, hands on his knees. Tell me that was all of them. Ethan didn't answer. He looked down at his hands, trembling. His mind replayed the last thing his clone had said. I just need to replace you. A slow, creeping fear curled in his gut. Because in that chaos, in those final moments, how could he be sure he was still himself? The end.